Welcome to episode 3 of the Boundless Brains podcast. Sometimes you have to go through hell to get to heaven. A true story. 2006, the year my life took a turn. A story of survival. The diagnosis. It started in 2006 when my doctor had a blood test done. I was called into his office when the results came in. My doctor advised results revealed that my kidneys were not functioning properly. He referred me to see a nephrologist. I went to see a nephrologist and he did further testing. When the results of this testing came in, I returned to his office, hoping everything was going to be fine. He told me, "You have a hereditary kidney disease called polycystic kidney disease." He said I was in stage 1. He explained that the kidneys form cysts and start to grow in size. I will go through stages, and when I reach stage 5, is the end stage, and you will have to go on dialysis. The kidneys can no longer filter toxins in the body. When I left his office, I thought, wow, what a punch in the gut. Drain the life out of me. Oh, great, my kidneys are planning a hostile takeover. Here is more about PKD. Polycystic kidney disease is a genetic condition, meaning it can be passed down from a parent to a child. The likelihood of inheriting PKD, autosomal dominant PKD or ADPKD, the most common form affecting about 1 in every 400 people in the U.S. If one parent has the genetic mutation, each child has a 50% chance of developing the disease. It can be passed through many generations. I happen to be in that 50%. What luck, huh? How my brother and I inherited kidney disease. My mother passed away in 2005. She was the carrier of the genetic mutation. She got it from her father, my Grandpa Pickles. Don't laugh. Yes, I had a Grandpa Pickles, and I don't know why. He died in 1961, 2 months after I was born in March. Little did I know I had the devilish disease in my body, and it finally showed its ugly self when I was in my 40s. My brother was diagnosed in 2007 when he had a mild heart attack. He was older and further into stage 4 of the disease. He died in 2022. Preparation for dialysis. I had to have fistula surgery done on my left arm to prepare for dialysis. Blood vessels. An arteriovenous AV fistula is sometimes surgically created to help with dialysis by connecting an artery and a vein. It makes the blood flow faster into the dialysis machine to clean toxins from the blood. I actually felt the surgeons making the incision to my arm, not thinking I was knocked out all the way. I didn't sign up for that. Fast forward to September 2015, the day I dreaded. That is when I reached stage 5, end-stage renal disease. Kidney function was at 14%. I held this end stage off for 9 years. I started my long road of hemodialysis at the dialysis center 3 days a week for 3 hours a day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, starting at 6 a.m. Oh joy, just what I wanted to do in the morning. It was awful. When you are done at the end of 3 hours and get disconnected from the machine, you feel drained and like a zombie. Then you get in your car to drive home. That wasn't good at all. Stay tuned. It gets worse. In October of 2015, I believe it was on a Wednesday, after leaving the dialysis center, I needed to stop at the grocery store to pick up a few items. I entered the store and started feeling ill and felt like I was going to pass out. So I hurried to get my items and get home. In the parking lot, I saw my neighbor, and she said, "You don't look so good." I said, "I feel nauseated and I'm gonna pass out." At this point, I'm thinking it's the effect from dialysis. I made it home and sat down right away. Then I got up and went to the bathroom because I was going to be sick. I started throwing up some black stuff. I knew this wasn't normal. I called my sister, who was a nurse. I said, "I'm throwing up something black." She said, "Does it look like coffee grounds?" I said, "Yes." She said, "You have a bowel obstruction and to call an ambulance." I was in the emergency room and they sent me for a scan, which confirmed it was a bowel obstruction. I was taken to a room. In the afternoon, Dr. Atasi, a great surgeon, came in to see me. He said, "We will have to put a tube down the nose to your stomach to remove anything in the stomach. You won't be able to eat and can only have ice chips. We will do the surgery on Friday afternoon after you have dialysis in the morning." I'm thinking that kidney disease and dialysis are enough. Am I being punished for something? Friday, Dr. Atasi said, "While I'm doing your bowel obstruction surgery, do you want me to fix your ventral hernia?" I said, "Okay, why not?" I had hernia surgery in 2003, and the mesh came loose, and the hernia returned in 2007. Both surgeries went well. Dr. Atasi came in to see me and had a plastic bag with a bloody item inside. "What's that?" He said, "This is what caused your bowel obstruction. It's your old mesh from your hernia surgery in 2003. It was wrapped around your intestine." Wow. An item from one surgery caused me to have 2 more surgeries. This is just the beginning of a long road ahead for my life. Let's get back to the dialysis talk. The only good thing about the 10 days in the hospital, I saw the Cubs win the World Series. That lifted my spirits. I found out there is a better way of doing dialysis. One day at the dialysis center, when I was receiving my treatment, a lady walked up to me and introduced herself. She said she was the PD nurse. She said, "Would you like to do home dialysis?" I said, "Yes. Is it better than the hemodialysis?" She said, "Automated peritoneal dialysis, APD, uses a machine to perform exchanges, usually while the patient sleeps." How it works. A catheter is surgically placed into your abdomen. Oh great, another surgery. A dialysis solution, a sterile fluid, is introduced into the abdominal cavity through the catheter. The peritoneum acts as a natural filter, allowing waste toxins and excess fluid to pass from the blood into the dialysis solution. After a set amount of time, the used solution is drained and replaced with fresh fluid and is drained again, usually 3 hours a day for a week. Sign me up. Benefits compared to hemodialysis. More independence can be done at home, work, or while traveling. Less dietary restrictions. Since it's continuous, it prevents excessive buildup of potassium, sodium, and fluids. It's gentler on the body, no sudden fluid shifts like in hemodialysis. So I switched to peritoneal dialysis. Once I learned how to connect the bags to the machine and the machine to the catheter, then hook up the drain tube to the toilet, I had a long tube from the catheter that I could walk all around my apartment. Freedom! Although I felt like a dog on a leash. I did mine during the day, tried when I slept, but I would roll on the cord and the alarm would sound, waking me up. Like everything else in my life, it got worse. My kidneys were getting worse and not filtering most of the toxins. I had to connect 2 bags to the machine, and time went up from 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. After a long time of doing this, I was psychologically being worn down. I was ready to give up. This is no life at this point. Searching for a solution. I thought, I need a transplant soon before I give up and die. I live in Northwest Indiana, so I tried 2 hospitals in Chicago, Illinois, Rush Medical and University of Illinois hospitals. After submitting to all their testing, the depressing part was the waiting time for a kidney. It could take up to 5 to 7 years. On one of my visits to my nephrologist, the PD nurse would draw my blood for testing. I told her I can't do this anymore. She said, "Have you tried St. Vincent in Indianapolis, Indiana?" I said, "No, but I will." She said their waiting time is 2 years. After that talk, I felt hope and went into survival mode. I went down to St. Vincent in September 2018 for a consultation. I was scheduled to return October 2018 for testing and to meet with my surgeon. He explained the procedure of the transplant and what the risks were. He said, "Before you go to orientation class, I have to do one more test, the all-dreaded prostate exam." When he was done, I said, "Now, are you going to buy me dinner?" He said, "No, but I will give you a cigarette." I thought, this is great, a surgeon with a sense of humor. The orientation class, they explained how you are put on the transplant list. We were then explained about a document we can or you don't have to sign. It stated if you receive a deceased donor kidney that is diseased, would you accept it? I thought it was strange that you would put a diseased organ in someone else. At this point, I didn't care. I signed the document. It was time to go home to Northwest Indiana to sit and wait. On August 16th of 2019, 11 months later, in the afternoon, the phone rang. ID showed St. Vincent. I said hello. The woman said my name and then said, "We have a kidney for you. Let me tell you the details about the donor. He was a 20-year-old male who died of an overdose. She said he was a heroin user and had hepatitis B. Will you accept it or pass?" I will take it. The odds were high once it was transplanted that I would be infected with hepatitis B. She said, "Be here tomorrow, August 17th at 6 a.m. I will be there." When I disconnected from the call, I looked up and said, "Thank you, Jesus." I got chills from my head to my toes. I wasn't a very religious person. I believe it to be either anointed with the Holy Spirit or I was sent a guardian angel. I will explain why I think this happened later. The morning of the transplant day, I was getting ready and I was trying to remove the bandage from my catheter. And I broke the rule of no scissors near the catheter. I was so excited and my mind was elsewhere, thinking ahead, no more dialysis. I ended up cutting the catheter in two. I said, "Oh shoot," except it wasn't the word shoot. Oh well. I helped them out by removing part of it for them. I arrived at St. Vincent around 5:30 a.m. Indianapolis was an hour ahead, a 2-hour drive down to Indianapolis. I was registered and taken to a hospital room to be prepped for surgery. The transplant, the easiest hard thing ever. My bed was wheeled down to the operating room. This is why I said earlier about the religious experience. I was not nervous or afraid at all. It's like I knew everything was going to go smoothly. When they wheeled me into the operating room, my surgeon looked like he was messing around untangling the veins or something with the kidney. I said, "What are you doing, playing with my kidney?" He replied, "I had to do something waiting for you." Glad I have a surgeon with a sense of humor. Before they put me under, he proceeded to tell the other people in the operating room that he was so excited to get the transplant, he cut his catheter in two. Everyone started laughing. He said, "Are you ready?" "Yep, let's get it done." When I woke up, I was back in my room. Some pain, but not too bad. My surgeon walked in and said everything went well. "Tomorrow we get you up, walking, and in 2 days you go home." I said, "Really? Only 2 days?" He said, "Yes, we don't want you in a hospital with sick people. Your immune system is very low now." In 2 days I was home. It was great, no more dialysis. The happiness wouldn't last long. A week later, St. Vincent called and told me my blood work showed that I attracted hepatitis B virus from the deceased donor. They said it's curable. They started me on antiviral medicine that I had to take 3 times a day for 8 weeks. After 8 weeks, I was cured of hepatitis B virus. I was the first transplant patient cured of the virus in St. Vincent Hospital. I asked if I would receive a plaque to hang on the wall at the hospital. It was a fast no. In October of 2019, I was having trouble seeing out of my left eye. Went to the ophthalmologist. He advised me I had blood behind the eye and it needs to be removed. I'm sure you guessed by now, another surgery. In November of 2019, I still had blurred vision in the left eye. I knew before the ophthalmologist said it. You need cataract surgery. How much can one man endure? I guess a lot in my life. Wait, there's more. Hold on to your seats. The calm before the storm. For a couple of weeks in November of 2019, things were going good and I was feeling pretty good. Still grateful, no more dialysis. I think it was a week before Thanksgiving. I was laying on the couch watching TV. It was about 10 p.m. I had to use the bathroom. I turned to get off the couch and suddenly a pain shot through my back. It buckled me over and I could barely make it into the bathroom. I sat on the toilet contemplating how I was going to get back to the couch. I got up and still buckled over, and now, in excruciating pain, I hurried back to the couch. I thought at first to crawl back. I laid on the couch, still in pain, thinking I probably just pulled a muscle. I was able to sleep for a couple hours. When I moved, it woke me up, and the pain was still bad. I'm thinking I don't want to be taken to the hospital. I thought, how are you going to get up? There's no way. Pain and reasoning won over, and I called an ambulance. I was lifted off the couch and taken to the hospital. In the emergency room, I was laying in the fetal position in excruciating pain. They didn't give me anything for pain until my family doctor came in. He always came when I was in the hospital. This doctor treated me since I was 13 years old. He took one look at me and knew what kind of pain I was in. He ordered the nurse to give me an injection of the painkiller Dilaudid, which is 8 times stronger than morphine. Within 15 minutes, I was laying straight and the pain was almost gone. Then they wheeled me down for a scan. The results came back. I had a laceration to a blood vessel on my old left kidney. You are absolutely right. They loaded me into an ambulance for a 2-hour drive to St. Vincent's for surgery. I have to say it was the strangest surgery I ever had. Trust me, I know surgeries. They put me to sleep. When I woke up, I forced my eyes open and realized I was still in the operating room, and the surgeon was still performing surgery on me. They had a sheet in front of me so I couldn't see what was happening. He told me I was put to sleep only so he could numb the entire area. So now I'm having a conversation with the surgeon, and they were playing some pretty good music. He would keep asking me if I was all right. I said, as far as I know, I can't feel anything. He just laughed. After the surgery, I stayed in the hospital until my discharge, December 1st. I was able to do therapy at the hospital by my house. I was able to go home from therapy on December 14th, 2019. Wasn't spending much time at home. The finale. My old kidneys were about the size of footballs and weighed about 30 pounds. About a week after I was home from therapy, I had a nurse that would make visits to check on me. It was around December 20th. Before she showed up, my abdomen was bloating to the point it was so tight I thought it was going to explode. The nurse came. She said, "How are you doing? I said, "Look, I'm so bloated. I feel like I'm going to explode all over the walls." She said, "Not good," and proceeded to call my family doctor. She told him what was happening, and he said, "Call an ambulance and get him to the hospital." I heard this and thought, here we go again, the emergency room. The emergency room doctor was tapping my abdomen like it was a ripe watermelon. The hospital contacted St. Vincent's and they advised to get him down here as soon as possible. Oh, goody. Another 2-hour ride in an ambulance. It isn't a comfortable ride. It was like it had no suspension. The bloating felt like a biological air mattress gone wrong. Or is this a new personality trait? I finally arrived at St. Vincent's and I was taken to my room. All the nurses and nurse aides asking me if I was back because you missed us. I said yes, but really, this is not where I want to be. I had a great rapport with all of them. Joking around with them helped. I would tell them, "I'm going to turn you in for abusing me." They would laugh and tell me I had a great sense of humor. I told them basically the only thing I have left besides survival. My surgeon came in and said, "Your old kidneys have to come out. They're just too big and will keep causing you trouble." He said, "We are scheduling it for February." I agreed. These large kidneys were squatting inside of me, taking up prime real estate. In January, the nurses and I watched TV together about the start of the flu called COVID. We said it's not so bad that more people were dying of the regular flu. Every day the news was saying it was getting worse and becoming a pandemic. Really didn't give it any thought and basically dismissed it. I had too much going on. Had many issues the transplant team had to deal with before they could do surgery. I have spent all the holidays in the hospital. The day of the extraction, double nephrectomy, removing the old kidneys. Finally, the day of the surgery, February 20th, 2020. I was told it lasted about 14 to 16 hours. When I woke up, I was in the most excruciating pain I ever felt in my life. I had this huge vest wrapped tightly around my abdomen, like my stomach was going to fall out. I really thought I wasn't going to make it. My surgeon came in. He said it was a bloodbath. I said, "I know." He said, "How do you know? You were out." I looked up at the IV pole, and hanging was a bag of blood. I was receiving transfusions. Then he said, "Do you want to see a picture of your old kidneys?" I said, "Yes." I was told that they were huge. He pulled the picture up on the computer, and they were about the size of footballs and full of cysts. It's like I had sporting equipment inside me. He said the right kidney came out easily. The left one put up a fight. It kept getting caught on the liver and other organs. I started calling him my comedic surgeon. For pain in the morning, they would give me an injection of Dilaudid. After that, it was hydrocodone every 6 hours. At night, it was a slow release of Oxycontin to help me sleep through the night. I hardly ever slept. With all that medication, I was becoming delirious. I started hallucinating. For some reason, I also couldn't eat. Nothing smelled or tasted good. Learning to walk again. March 5th, 2020. I was moved to a nursing home across the street from St. Vincent for therapy. I had 2 nurses that were great. One used to work in my hometown. The other was nice and started my day off with a pain pill. I told them I wish you were here all the time. The aides were very neglectful and not friendly. I still wasn't getting sleep there. I watched TV all day and all night. The news started saying that COVID is becoming a worldwide pandemic. Then they said that people were dying in nursing homes. Then I started to freak out. Next day, I met my 2 men that were going to do my therapy. Do what you need to do so I can walk out of here by March 31st. I'm not staying in a nursing home where people are dying of COVID. I knew it was bad when they moved the therapy people to one end and the old people to the other end of the nursing home. Nothing like learning to walk again during a pandemic. Like life wasn't hard enough. The first day of therapy, one therapist came in to work my legs while I was in bed. The other came in to work my arms. Soon after working in the therapy room, I was strong enough to use a walker. Then I was able to walk without the walker. Not good. I walked like a 90-year-old man. March 31st finally arrived. I looked out the window and saw my friend's car sitting at the main entrance. I had everything packed and ready to go. I wanted to get out of there and go home where I knew it was safe. I thought someone would come and discharge me. The only person to come in was a doctor. He said to me that I needed to stay longer. I told him, no way. My friend is out there to pick me up. I'm leaving. I gathered my things and started walking towards the front door. I was having trouble walking and carrying everything. The nurse that worked in my hometown said, let me help you. She said, nobody came to help you. I said, no. She helped me into the car. It was so good to be home. My neighbors helped me out of the car and helped me into my apartment. My one neighbor cooked me meals for me because I couldn't stand for long periods of time. When I got home, I weighed 119 pounds. She was a great cook and fattened me up. The takeaway: survival, humor, and the bigger picture. I found survival, resilience, and humor in dark times. What I learned about the whole experience was to take nothing for granted. Keep pushing ahead. Keep your faith in Jesus. He will keep you calm and peaceful through these horrific times I didn't ask for. I shared my story to help others to laugh, reflect, and push forward. Sometimes life throws you curves in life. Big curves. Keep the faith. If anyone went through something similar or would like to share a story, please comment below. I would love to hear them. Until next time, remember to be respectful and kind to others.